Check and watch that.
Ready. Good evening. I'd like to call to order a regular meeting of the City Council, Satellite Beach, March 4th, 2015, approximately 7:05. Please join Vice Mayor Montanaro in a moment of silence and the pledge.
I'm going to say a quick prayer. Lord, thank you for allowing us to be here this evening. Allow us to make good decisions for our residents. Please watch out over all of our armed forces and bring the men and women who are serving abroad for us home safe and sound to their families. Amen. Amen. If you'll join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 3, citizens' comments for non-agenda items. The floor is open.
Some 15 or 20 years ago, I began cutting Brazilian pepper trees in the city, and at that time there was a Satellite Beach ordinance which required eradication of all such trees within the city. Many residents called me and asked that I to remove their trees, and I gladly did so. There were some, however, who refused to have theirs cut because they liked their trees. When I inquired as to why a code violation was not issued to the non-compliant, the answer was basically, well, it might upset the residents. Hence, no violations were ever issued, despite the ordinance. Perhaps a review of the laws requiring invasive trees would be interesting. State Law 360-251 says, and I quote, "A person may not sell, transport, collect, or possess any plant, including any part or seed of the species Melaleuca, Brazilian pepper, and Australian pine without prior permit from the department. Any person who violates this section commits a misdemeanor of the second degree, punishable by fine only." Brevard County law says, Brevard County shall develop a county-wide program for invasive exotic removal of public lands and shall educate private property owners on reasons to remove invasive species from private lands. I recently tried unsuccessfully to find the origin of the original Satellite Beach ordinance. I did, however, find reference to a succeeding section numbered 30-331. And upon inquiry of the city manager a couple of weeks ago, I found that it too no longer exists, but was superseded by another section called 30-705. And guess what? Section 30-705 on nuisance tree no longer exists, but has been amended and is now section 30-706, dated 9 December 2007, which reads as follows, and I quote, minus the technical terms, "The following trees are considered noxious invasive species and must be removed by a date to be announced by the city. These are Brazilian pepper, Melaleuca, and Australian pine." This section of the city code was written 8 years ago in 2007. Isn't it time that you announce a firm date to require compliance? If you do set a date, will you publish the ordinance in the Satellite Beachcaster so all who have such trees on their property are aware of the ordinance which requires their removal? If you do, will you insist that code violations be issued for non-compliance after that date? If you're not going to set a date, please delete any reference to invasive noxious trees so we don't be held waiting with bated breath for the date. Thank you.
John, thank you very much. We'll definitely get back with you, talk to Courtney Johnstone on this, and we'll get it to be an agenda item. Thank you very much. Floor is still open. Okay. Andy, you have that for us?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Hearing no further comment, bring it back to council. City council comments? Who would like to start?
Andy, do you know the status of the Beachcaster?
I do not.
Okay. I just want to make some comments about the company that we hired to do the Beachcaster. On this latest Beachcaster, on the infrastructure and the utility tax thing, I spent many hours to the point of exhaustion trying to meet a deadline to get that thing well done and get it right and get it out. When it went to the printer, he totally trashed it. He just trashed it. He rearranged things, he did this, he did that, and in the process, he created multiple errors. You can probably imagine how dismayed I was and remain. So, my opinion is that this company is not qualified to be doing the work that they say they are qualified to do, and we need to be looking for another person to set this up. That Beachcaster should have been in the mail, probably in people's homes by now. It's still over at the printer.
Lorraine and Andy, before that is ever mailed, we have to approve the final copy,
Yes.
correct? So have we done that?
No, I'm waiting for it.
Waiting for-
his second iteration. The first one, he just trashed my work. And it was sent back to him again, and he was told to do it, to prepare it exactly as it appears on these pieces of paper. I mean, he didn't even have to think. He just had to do what was in front of him, and he just went wild.
First off, I don't think he should even change, if we hand him something to write, it should be as is. That's why we're doing it. He's just putting it down on paper. Okay, Andy, another thing for you, let's take a look at that. And if council wants to direct the city staff to see if we can find another printer,
Yeah.
and at least look into that.
I'm in favor of that.
And
I'm okay
Andy,
with that.
If you can find someone who can work with what they call camera-ready copy,
I think too, because we had maybe 2 or 3 Beachcasters ago, the color was so off.
Yeah,
that you
yellow.
couldn't really see pictures well, so.
everybody.
And I think we got that one at no charge on that, but we need it to be right. And, hopefully we can get that.
I have a copy of what he sent back to us from my work, and I'd be happy to show it to you.
But I sure would like to have this out
I
before we had that, we're doing all these meetings and so forth. So, I'm sorry to interrupt. but-
tried hard.
I know. You still have the floor if there's any other council comments.
Now I'm finished.
Thank you.
On the 26th of February, I attended the retirement board meeting. And John, I didn't know you were going to be coming here to make your comments tonight, but 2 meetings ago, I echoed your same comments because I brought to the council's awareness that the property north of the post office, where that retention area, there's a bunch of Brazilian peppers around that retention pond. And the 2007, when we passed this ordinance, we still had Brazilian pepper trees and Australian pines on city property, and we didn't want to enforce anything at that time until we cleaned up our own property. And I asked at that meeting that we have John look at to make sure that we've cleaned up all our property and to see what we needed to do to move forward on this. So I'm right behind you on this. You've done a ton of work over the years trying to eradicate these plants in our city, and we have them growing in other places that are just proliferating more of them. And we need to get on top of them, or we're going to, I mean, there's only so many more years you're going to have to be able to wield that chainsaw, John, and we want to make sure that, you know, we get these taken care of. So I'm right behind you.
Well, I did ask Alan, I believe it was 6 or 8 months ago.
John, will you come to a microphone?
John, you need to come to the microphone.
Allow you to come to the microphone on this one.
Thank you.
I think I asked Alan, 5 or 6 months ago, if there were any pepper trees on city property that needed removal. And I think his answer was no. I was ready to cut them, but if there are some on city property, just let me know where they are.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
I'm done.
Okay. Al, we pretty cleaned up on that issue.
Yes, sir. I think the only area of concern was on Sampson's Island with the Australian pines, some peppers. But, you know, we try to catch the peppers as quickly as we can because, you know, birds carry the seeds and they probably get them from the north of, you know.
That's what's happening.
Because John's knocked out every tree in Satellite Beach. So those would be the only 2 trees of concern. Melaleucas are gone from any city property, so.
Thank you very
Well,
much.
I would, Andy, if you would, it was brought up two meetings ago. Would you ask John Stone to look at how we're going to address this, please?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I think 2 things. Maybe we need Jim to make sure the ordinance as written is correct. We can do something. Because obviously it's been changed quite a few times. Let's make sure we have that right. And-
That was what Dominic said, is what I recall also, is that the city wasn't going to enforce the code against other people while the city still they had to get their own ducks in a row, so to speak, before they went out and enforced it against private owners.
Sure. I just want to make sure too that the new code, since it's obviously been changed quite a few times, that, you know, we have our ducks in a row there. Okay, thank you.
Just a couple things. I did get a few comments from the town hall, the last town hall. Going very well, I would say. I think the whole thing is picking up speed. I think not only are we getting better at it, but I think the participation and people asking questions and wanting to know more is picking up also. And I think there's been a lot of talk about trying to get our contact information and trying to get that communication line open, which is good, because I think that's what we were all pressing for in the first place, was to do that. The only thing I'll comment on, which I know is Alan's favorite thing, was the whole manatee ordeal that we had going on here. But I have had nothing but positive comments from anybody that I've spoke to, or anybody that's talked to somebody else who's spoke about it. I'm happy to say that even my dad heard about it in Pennsylvania, because it made GMA, it made CBS, it made them all. So it was good on you, as I was told. Good on you for doing that. I think we'll be very proactive, and I know we'll take care of it, but I know I was out there till well after midnight out there. I can't say I can't be any prouder than our staff members that were out there. Job well done. Again, for being in the national spotlight when we certainly didn't look for that and was thrust upon us out of nowhere, I think we did again, job well done. So good job to the staff and everybody. You guys were great out there. That's it.
Thank you, Mark.
I have nothing tonight.
Thank you. On the public hearing, which I also attended along with the rest of council, I've got quite a few phone calls and emails on it. And most of them seem to be very educated people with good questions on things and not in any combative mode. It was, I think, very good. I think we're getting the word out, and you explained it to people. I had a lady who contacted me and asked some great questions. And one of them was, just so I can let you guys know, is why are we doing a CRA project when we need the money so bad in the streets? And I walked her through why the CRA fund is separate. And when you explained it to her, she was fine and, you know, appreciated all of us coming forward and making this available to the residents. So I think it's working good. The manatee, I was walking my dog, and all of a sudden I come up to Flashing Lights and Andy and Alan, and they look at me, and I was like, oh no, what in the world now? And to be honest with you, and I think the staff did an incredible job. I really watched the Manatee people and FWC, and really without our staff, and I'm proud of them because they really are the ones that took charge and figured out how to do this. And I think we had a few bad incidents happen in our city earlier, and I think that kind of was everybody you talked to. I got a phone call from Arizona that morning at 8 o'clock, and someone answered, great job on the manatees. So it spread. It gave us a good light, I think, of, from 2 previous bad experiences. So to the staff, long hours, but thank you. Al, you guys were great. Amazing. Okay. Any further council comments? No. Okay. City Manager's report. Andy?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council members. The citywide garage sale, as you've seen around town, will be held on March 7th from 8 a.m. to noon at the David R. Schechner Center. You can contact the Recreation Department for either space at the DRS Center or to advertise your address. You can also have a yard sale at your house and they'll advertise your address. 321-773-6458. Don't forget about the Little League opening on March 7th at the city's DeSoto Ball Field from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Some informational items. As just mentioned, the February 26, 2015 community meeting at the Oceanside Church went very well. The city's next community meeting will be held on March 10th, 2015 at our Father's House at 7 p.m. So far, we've received a very positive response from the projects that the city's currently undertaking and some of the infrastructure improvements that we're proposing. We did receive a thank you letter, an email from a resident on Glenwood regarding the response to the incident that occurred there on February 19th. We've attached that. The city response to the manatee rescue was received very positively by the public and the Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission. We've done our follow-ups with them, our debriefings, and went over everything from the start to finish. And we'll provide you a report on the cost to the city for this endeavor on March 18th, 2015. We utilized our resources fairly well. We had coverages from Brevard County and some things that didn't cost us money, so we tried to do what we could do and also get the manatees out of the storm drain. Just a reminder that Courtney will be out of the office on March 11th through March 25th. Some guy named Andy Stewart will be the acting city manager during her absence. Yeah, I hope.
Try to stay ahead on the manatees, will you?
Yeah. And that's all I have this evening.
Thank you. Any questions for City Manager, Acting City Manager? Okay. Andy, thank you very much.
Thanks.
At this time, I'd like to open up a public hearing on ordinance number 1100. Jim?
Ordinance number 1100, an ordinance of the City of Satellite Beach, Brevard County, Florida, designating its official seal pursuant to Section 165.043 Florida statutes, prohibiting use of city seal without specific approval of City Council, providing penalties for violation, providing severability, repealing inconsistent ordinances, providing an effective date. It's the second reading of ordinance number 1100.
Move to adopt on second reading.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilwoman Gott, second by Councilman Breimer. Any further discussion from council?
I did actually get some calls and stuff asking, actually for probably a little more information about this. So I did go out I wanted to make sure that, this wasn't something new Satellite Beach invented and we're the first one. Obviously, that's true. I did go out, I physically looked at 18 different cities, including some local ones, Melbourne, Malabar, Melbourne Beach, even Brevard County. I read their ordinance. I went out and looked at the Florida statute. Again, it's pretty clear. There's not a lot of, a lot of gray area to me in there. Again, it's nothing new. It's something that city's been doing for quite some time now. So again, I just felt that I did my due diligence to really look into it. I want to make sure that we weren't stepping on anybody's toes. But like I said, obviously, if this is something that would have been that controversial as far back as I can see in the 90s, I'm sure someone would have brought this up. I actually saw, I think Cocoa Beach actually had something there, and they actually got a reading from Pam Bondi, which basically said, yes, it was good and fair. So everything I looked into it, I don't see any issues with it.
Great. Any further council comments? At this time, open it up to public comment on agenda item 6, ordinance number 1100. Hearing none, back to council. Any further comments? Lenore?
Councilman
Oh,
Osmer?
excuse me, hold on.
Read the ordinance?
Jim did.
Yeah.
Did already.
You did.
Okay.
Councilman Osmer?
Yes.
Councilman Breimer?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Montanaro?
Yes.
Councilman Gott?
Yes.
Mayor Patino?
Yes, motion passes. Thank you. Time to close that public hearing and move on to agenda item 7, discuss, take action on ordinance 1101. Jim?
Ordinance number 1101, an ordinance of the City of Satellite Beach, Brevard County, Florida, creating, establishing, and adopting a board handbook for all city boards, transferring findings, establishment, and other mandatory items required by law from city code to handbook as it relates to Board of Adjustment, Code Enforcement Board, Planning and Zoning Advisory Board, Comprehensive Planning Advisory Board, repealing Divisions 1, Quasi-Judicial Board, Communications, 2, Comprehensive Planning Advisory Board, 3, Library Board, 4, Recreation Board, 5, Sampson's Island Park Development Committee, and 6, Business Enhancement Committee of Article 3, Chapter 2, repealing Division 2, Code Enforcement Board of Articles 8, Chapter, excuse me, number 3, Planning and Zoning Advisory Board, and 4, Beautification Board of Article 2, Chapter 30, and repealing Sections 31-5 and 31-8, Article 1 of Chapter 31, Community Redevelopment Agency Advisory Board, Satellite Beach City Code, amending Sections 46-36A and B and 46-61A and B, Satellite Beach City Code, by increasing terms of pension board members from 2 years to 3 years, repealing and rescinding all existing bylaws, charters, and rules of procedure currently in effect as it relates to any city board, providing severability, providing an effective date. It's the first reading of ordinance number 1101.
Thank you.
I have some questions.
Okay.
Go to page, the second page, section 3. You've listed divisions 1 through 6, and 6 is the Business Enhancement Committee, and that was not added to your narrative
Okay,
in there.
it should be in
So
there.
it
That
sh-
was just an omission then.
I'm sorry.
I said I must have just missed that, yeah.
Yeah, so it should be after Sampson's Island Park Development Committee, comma, Business Enhancement Committee needs to be inserted there.
I think.
It's right there. Business Enhancement Committee and Code Enforcement Board. And then I have a question. In section 5, the last sentence says the repealed sections shall be designated as reserved in the city code, and my question is, shouldn't that be a separate section since it applies to more than just the provisions in section 5? It applies to all of these.
Well, actually, that's not totally true. The other ones, we're just repealing them. The divisions aren't going to be there at all. These are just going to be out of sequence, so rather than renumbering, it's just reserving those. I'm not even sure we need to have that in there, but basically,
I think
I just
we
did
do.
it that way rather than renumbering them. I'm suggesting
Yeah,
that
I
it just,
understand that, that's not my point. My point is the repealed sections, well, section
The
3,
divisions.
4, and 5 all deal with repealing.
correct.
But you've tacked this sentence on just to the end of section 5, so that it makes it sound like only the repealed sections in section 5 are going to be designated as reserved. So my suggestion is that there should be a separate section 6 that simply says, the repealed sections shall be designated as reserved in the city code. And then that makes it clear that it's applying to all of these code provisions in sections 2, 3, and 4.
You can do that.
And five.
I don't know that you need to do it for the other ones because you're just totally repealing those, and you're basically repealing, basically all you're going to have now is just Article 3, Chapter 2, and none of those divisions are going to be there anymore. I understand what you're saying, and I don't have any problem either way.
Well, I would like to make that section 6 and then renumber section 6 to 7, 7 to 8, 8 to 9, 9 to 10, and 10 to 11, 11 to 12, and 12 to 13. And then if you go over to section 8, the second line.
Section 8, which would be 9 if we
Yes,
decide that?
yes.
Okay.
Second line begins regarding any board in the city that should be in
Yeah.
existence. And I have a question about the first line, all bylaws, charters, rules of procedure, and similar documents regarding any board. And I'm wondering if maybe the word similar governing documents should be in there, because I want it made clear that no boards shall determine how they will conduct business. And I say that because I have looked at every set of bylaws, charters, rules of procedure, everything going back years. And I have made sure that all of the provisions that are contained in those miscellaneous documents are included in the handbook, so that I can say with full certainty that every board can find their appropriate guidance in that handbook. They don't need a separate document governing just them, because those provisions are already in the handbook. So my concern is with the word governing. Does it add anything, do you think?
I don't think it really adds anything.
Okay.
Because it's modifying the bylaws, charters, and rules of procedure before it anyway, so I think it actually is better if it's just stays that way because it's broader.
Okay.
Anything else?
That's all I have on that.
Okay, I guess my question to Jim is on Lorraine's, Councilman Gott's section there, 5 to 6 in there. It doesn't bother you either way?
No.
Okay. And to me, since Lorraine is the author of it, then
It fits.
it fits.
Yeah.
Okay.
If it clarifies it
Okay.
let's do it.
All right. Sounds great. I just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page. Any further comments from council?
Move to adopt ordinance 1101 on first reading as amended.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Gott, second by Vice Mayor Montanaro. At this time, I'll open up for public hearing.
Good evening, David Schechter, 635 Seville Court. On page 2-2, the first one, at the top of the page says term of office. At least that's what I got. Is that right? Yeah. I'm sorry, my computer has been down for several days and I haven't been able to get on the website to look at it, so city clerk offered me a copy, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
2-2 at the top, term of office, in the handbook.
Oh, from the handbook, I'm sorry.
I'm in the handbook. That's what you're adopting, right?
Yes.
We're adopting the ordinance to adopt it.
You don't like my handbook, David?
I love your handbook. Under excused absences, under removal, it talks about neglect of duty shall be included under removal, partway down the page. And it talks about neglect of duty shall include excessive, unexcused absences, which will be defined as unexcused absence from 2 out of 3 consecutive regular meetings. That's a little stiff, but if that's what you want, that's what you can do. My question really is the follow-up to that, where it talks about if they do that, you notify the city clerk of such individuals. Before notifying the city clerk, before removals initiated, that's all good, as far as I'm concerned, contacting them. And the last part says, if she desires to remain on the board and has another unexcused absence, that seat should be automatically vacated. It means one time. I have a problem, 2 years later, I miss one, I'm automatically off. That's a little stiff to me. I mean, and I recognize that we're talking about unexcused absences. We're not talking about excused absences. So I understand that theory and why you would go there. It just seems tough to me. You miss one of anything. It's up to you. You can leave it that way and work at that. I just think you ought to probably just go back through the process again, which makes it tedious, I know, but you're trying to give the guy the benefit of the doubt. That's all. That's just a question I have.
David, how much does it take for someone to pick up the phone and call and say, I have to work this evening or whatever, I cannot be there?
I understand. I'm merely bringing up a concern I have. And that's one out of the whole document, dear. You did a great job.
Thank you very much.
How about if we did something, if you wanted to change the language, just say something that if he or she desires to remain on the board and has another unexcused absence in the first 6 months after. Because then at least if it's a year and a half out and they miss a meeting, that's kind of, but I mean, if they miss it within 6 months of them having an issue, then I would say, yeah. But if it's a year and a half out, you know, maybe we can at least just clarify it.
Isn't it a year-to-date drop-off, though? That if they have an unexcused, then doesn't it go away?
Say again.
Well, what I'm saying is, if you have an unexcused absence at the meeting in March, okay? When does that cycle, I'll use the term,
Clear itself.
clear itself? It never clears
Not
itself.
not the way this is written, no.
All right, so basically, he's saying 2 years down the road, you could get another one, and
After 2 years of perfect attendance, and then you missed one and you're out. That's kind of the point we're
I'm saying,
we're
yeah,
making
once you
here.
get to 2 to 3, then shouldn't it be come off in a cycle, that if you start to attend, that
Well,
you lose that bad mark goes away?
But the word consecutive here makes a difference. If you miss 2 out of 3 consecutive regular meetings, you're up to be off. But if we decide that we don't want to take them off, they can't miss anything for 6 months before.
Well, what I'm saying, right now, that's not the way it reads. Right now, it says if you miss 2 out of 3, your next one, you're off. It doesn't give you that period of time, okay, where that comes off after a year down or 6 months down. What happens right here is, let's say no one says anything, 2 years down the road, it happens, you're off. And you could have had perfect attendance until that. So, I understand why we want to make people come to board meetings, believe me. But in the same token,
To me, it's a matter of showing interest. Are you interested in serving on that board or not? And it's not hard to get an excused absence, and all you have to do is pick up the phone, give your excuse, and you're excused.
And I tend to agree with that. I mean, we keep talking about you're off, but I mean, if you're getting an excused absence, then it's not really a mark against you. We're talking about 2 out of 3 meetings, you never called in, you didn't say anything, you just never showed up, which is a lot different than if 2 out of the 3 meetings you called and said, I have a family matter, something else goes.
and I get that.
And which I think is good. If you're not going to call, or you're never going to show up, and you just don't show up, and nobody knows why you're not showing up at all.
Right. I understand.
To me, I understand what.
But what I'm saying
Councilman
is,
John's saying,
after
but-
that, it's forever. you know, like in Sandlot when the kid goes forever. So there's no way to gain reprieve there. That's the only thing.
And I can kind of see, I mean, I think maybe you could have like a 12-month, I mean, just like when we were looking at some of the attendance records. I mean, should that be a floating 12 months, for example? I mean, would that suit you, Mayor? If you had something like that, like a floating 12
I
months?
would
The only thing
just
you're
bring it
looking
up
at.
that, and a lot of times when boards and stuff like this happens, you earn it off after you,
Right.
you know, that year period. So I was just bringing it up on.
Well, that's why I said, I mean, I can understand having, like I said, you'd have like a floating 12 months, you know, so that you're looking at someone's record for the last year. And then, if you've been there to every single meeting for the last year, and then you have an unexcused absence, well, I think you've been to all of them for the last 12. We shouldn't hold something against you that was a year and a half ago or 2 years ago. I mean, I understand where that kind of makes sense.
I was just bringing it
Don't
up for
look at me.
discussion. I'm just bringing it for discussion. I mean,
I'm finished working on this.
I can't bring it up. I mean, I'm just bringing it for discussion, so we
I think if
cover
we
it.
looked at something that gave a little bit of leeway on a time, however we want to come up with that. But I mean, you know, if you look at absences, and I'm on a board, and, you know, in a 7-month period, I call in and get an excused absence for 5 of the 7 meetings, am I a good board member? Just because I called? I mean, you know, so where's the difference there?
We are the difference.
Yeah,
I mean, see, when it comes up for renewal,
then we don't
obvious.
renew them.
Correct.
And if you're calling, then you're obviously showing that you are still interested in being on that board.
I understand. I would like to see a year in there, that it clicks in a year. That way you,
So in other words, what you're suggesting is if they miss 2 out of 3 meetings, they have a year where they can't miss another unexcused meeting, and then if they do a year, then it starts over again. Is that what you're,
It resets.
yeah,
I'm just
resets?
you know, because I mean, they are volunteers. We do want them, and I understand, you know, people's effort that has to be put out. But things do come up to volunteers. And, you know, sometimes we do have a little difficulty filling all the boards. And if we get someone who's been good, but just got a stretch where they couldn't, you know, adhere, I hate to just, you know, put them on the chopping block. I'd rather have a little bit of the ability of them being able to reprieve, you know, earn back that.
But the point, you've made a good point by using the word if they're good. You know, if they're good board members, they're going to be conscientious enough to call and say, I can't be there tonight.
I understand.
I'll go either way. I mean, I understand Lorraine's logic about keeping it tight. All you have to do is pick up the phone and call. But if you guys want to do a reset button, I'm fine with that too. I'll go either way.
Let me just, the public comment is still open on this. John?
John Fergus, 135 Maple. I can see it going either way. Just keep in mind, if you do a reset after a year, you could have 2 unexcused, 12 good, of which half of them could be excused. And then you can get 2 more unexcused, okay, because you've done a reset. So basically, every 14 months, somebody could just 2 consecutive meetings not call in. And then the other question is, what if it's not consecutive? Unexcused, okay, unexcused, okay. There's a whole lot of permutations here. So it's at some point, if you're going to try other than just hard and fast rule, would be so many absences, whether excused or not, during a year, 18 months or something, and then it goes to the council to figure what to do. I don't know how to answer it, but I'm just saying, you know, this reset has its own difficulties. And so maybe it's easier to let it go, see how it works, and fix it later if it doesn't.
Thank you. Public comment still open? Hearing none, back to council.
I tend to agree with the last thing that John probably just said, which probably makes the most sense. We can sit here and what if. I say, what if we just let this go right now? And if we run into that situation somewhere down the road where it does not prove to be a positive, then we'll change it. I mean, it's hard to tell what's going to happen.
Leave it the way it is?
Just for now, leave it the way it is. And if this does not work, if it turns out that this is not working for some reason, well, we can change it.
Okay.
But, that we haven't even implemented this yet, and we're trying to worry about whether it's going to work or not. Maybe we should just let it ride and see if it's going to work first. And then, if we need to change it, or if something doesn't work, then we'll change it.
Okay. I think the object of this is to get people to the meetings. So
I'm with
whether they're excused or unexcused, if they're calling in and they're not coming to the meetings, that's just as bad as not calling and coming to the meetings. So let's leave it the way it is and see what happens.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, I would just say that the only thing left on this handbook is the parliamentary procedure, which is going to be a one-page table of the things out of Robert's Rules that you can most commonly expect a board to need to use. And then the forms, you've seen some of those. I have to finish the rest of them. They will be completed for second reading.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Lenore?
Councilman Breimer?
Yes.
Councilman Osmer?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Montanaro?
Yes.
Councilwoman Gott?
Yes.
Mayor Patino?
Yes, motion carries. Lorraine?
Good job.
Good job.
Job well done.
Really well done. Been a while out there, and I know you put a lot of effort into it over the years, and we got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Moving on to agenda item 8, discuss take action on fire department grant authorization for cardiac monitoring. Chief?
Good evening. Before you is a grant authorization for the State of Florida Emergency Medical Services State EMS Matching Grant. We are requesting permission to submit for a grant for replacement of our 2 cardiac heart monitors for the paramedic engines that we have. Our current monitors that we have, they are right at 15 years of age, and even though they are in great mechanical shape, the challenge we are running into is expected fiscal year 15-16. They will no longer be able to be on a service contract. And secondarily to that, other agencies are experiencing this. New replacement parts are becoming not available, and so when you have something repaired, it's being scavenged from another heart monitor from someplace else. So with that said, normal heart monitors don't even stay in service 15 years. It's just like anything else we have. We keep it forever. And so for us, it'll be a $67,000. It's actually listed in our capital assets fund for fiscal year 16-17, I believe, at $69,000. This grant has a 25% match, and we're requesting for the authorization of that grant match for capital assets fund.
Okay, thank you.
Kind of like our software, they don't make upgrades for it anymore.
And that's exactly it. I mean, and the way that we store our heart monitors is different than just about any department, and so they're pristine. But the problem is that they stay in service for a long time, and then you run into this challenge.
Great. This time, council questions?
Yeah. What's the name of the grant program, Donnie?
Florida Department of Health, EMS, Emergency Medical Services Matching Grant.
I'll make a motion to recommend authorization to submit a State of Florida EMS grant for cardiac monitor replacement not to exceed $67,000 with a 25% city match of $16,750 with the matching funds to come from capital assets.
Second.
I have a motion by Vice Mayor Montanaro, second by Councilman Osmer. Discussion from council? Any further? At this time, open up for public comment. Hearing none, back to council. Any further? Lenore?
Councilman Breimer?
Yes.
Councilwoman Gott?
Yes.
Councilman Osmer?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Montanaro?
Yes.
Mayor Patino?
Yes, motion carries. Items for next regular council meeting. Remember, March 10th, 7 p.m., we have our next public community meeting. And if there's any other agenda items that you'd like to add to the list that's already there, please get with Courtney while you get with Andy on the next one. Okay. Any further discussion on that? Okay. Moving on to agenda item number 10, appointments to boards.
Move to reappoint Harry Pollack to both of the pension boards.
Second.
Motion by Councilwoman Gott, second by Vice Mayor Montanaro. Discussion? Hearing none, open up for public comment. Hearing none. Lenore?
Councilman Breimer?
Yes.
Councilman Osmer?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Montanaro?
Yes.
Councilwoman Gott?
Yes.
Mayor Patino?
Yes, motion carries. I think that's the only one we need to appoint tonight. Moving on to agenda item 11, adoption of minutes.
Make a motion to adopt the council regular meeting minutes from February 4th, 2015 as submitted.
Second.
Motion by Vice Mayor Montanaro, second by Councilman Osmer, to approve the minutes of February 4th, 2015.
And before we do that, I'd like to congratulate Bill Spiegelhalter, who wasn't at that meeting, for his 5 years of service.
Thank you.
But the chief said he's going to make a presentation.
We're going to take care of you.
We're not just going to throw it to you like this.
It's glad to see you back. Any further discussion? Lenore?
Councilman Breimer?
Yes.
Councilwoman Gott?
Yes.
Councilman Osmer?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Montanaro?
Yes.
Mayor Patino?
Yes. Motion passes. Okay, so remember the 10th and also the 7th, who's ever going to Little League.
What time are we supposed to be there? I mean, what time does it start?
I think it said 10 to 4.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
but it
usually
starts
get
at
there.
11, it's 11 o'clock is when the ceremony, I think,
Starts at 11?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Because I'll be there for the ceremony. and
Any
I've gotta leave.
further business? Hearing none, meeting's adjourned.
Good job, Andy. Heck of a job.
See where I stand with all the department heads. They're all like, go on.